so we can go ahead. All right. I will call the January 21st, 2025 meeting of the Muskego Library Board to order at 5:09 p.m. Can everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Right now, Barb. Okay. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. All right. Phyllis. Here. Carrie. Here. Michelle. Here. Alderman Decker.
Here.
Tracy. Here. Barb. Here. We have a quorum present. Kristen is excused, and David is excused. Statement of public notice. This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law. Public comment. I see nobody. I can't tell. Is there anybody online? Let's take a look. Let's make Barb bigger. Hello, Barb. Nobody online. All right. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda from the December 2024 meeting, the approval of minutes, and the December 2024 financials?
So moved.
Thank you, Tracy.
I second.
Thank you, Carrie. Any discussion, questions, what have you?
On page 6, in the top third, it has J.M. Brennan, and it says fall preventative maintenance. Is that a typical cost for that?
Yep.
Okay.
So we do it every fall. It's usually around that amount of money. They go through, they look at all the belts, the filters, just making sure that things are good to go so that we don't have something snap or break or hiccup in the middle of winter when having no heat would be a problem. So,
okay.
And it was planned into that 2024 budget. Like when we ask for maintenance money, we think, okay, there's a certain amount of emergencies that might take place, and then there's a certain amount of known maintenance that we need to do, and this was one of those ones that we factored in. On page 7, at the very top, what is a quiet area receptacle? And
where is the quiet area?
And self-checkout data cable really $1,390? Yes, I have great answers for both those questions. So quiet area was just something the electrician called it. Really, the whole library's quiet area. So we have a booth that we set up, booth-style furniture, and it has no outlet next to it. People constantly sit there, tutors, people studying, and they want to charge things. And for a while, we were running a really long orange extension cord along a good portion of the library. And that's not the greatest solution to get power to that area. And so we had the electrician put in an electrical box into the wall. So they had to pull the electrical cable, they had to cut into the wall, and now there's an outlet there. So it will be very helpful. The data cable, we only have so many characters to fit the description in. It's not just the data cable, it's also pulling the data cable from the server room through the library to the area where the data port needs to be. Our self-checks, we had one near the hold shelf and one at the circulation desk. And the one at the circulation desk was not thriving. It was in the way all the time. People would come and they would try to check out by themselves, but then they would also see the staff there and then they wouldn't know what to do. Usually when people self-check, they want to get in and out, or they want to do it without having to talk to someone. And then it also became a bottleneck point because we tried to measure out how much space it would take, but someone would stand here, they'd have a stack of books, They would be checking out, they'd set the stack of books here, but meanwhile, someone who wanted to check out with a staff member would also be standing there, and so they were just piling on top of each other. So it's going to be really nice. We're glad to have everything in one space and improve the workflow. But yeah, not just the cable, but that would have been an expensive cable.
Okay. And then the next part was the adjustable height desk. Is that for that self-checkout then?
It is exactly that,
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So is Staff Electric who the city uses for their electrical, or did you get that bidded out? Or?
So Staff Electric is just a company that we've used in the past, so I did not get multiple quotes for that one. Usually I do, especially if it's above a certain amount for the city's purchasing policy. For this one, it was a company, we wanted to get it in quick at the end of the year. We were familiar with the quality of their work, so we just went with it. So.
What is the family restroom retainage?
That was the final payment for the restroom.
Okay.
Yep. There's a certain amount of construction retainage that they hold back, that we hold back just to make sure that the work is finished. And now that the work's officially done, we issued that final amount. So.
Okay. And then just above that, the United States Fire Protection. Is that all to do with the repairs that were being done, or is this something else?
I mean, it's part of it.
Okay.
It is. It's part of it. They found one leak. They did their 5-year maintenance, and I think you guys are familiar with part of this story. Mm-hmm. And they found that the 2-hour air tests weren't holding. It's supposed to hold at 40 psi's, and it was not. And so, after we failed that portion of the test, we brought them back in to see if they could find leaks, because that means there's leaks in the system somewhere. Mm-hmm. They found one leak, and I can get more into that a little bit later. But so the 5-year test, 5-year maintenance for $3,710, that was planned. We knew that was coming. Every 5 years you have to do it per code. And so we did that, and that was planned. The top one, the one for 2030, that was, if you recall, when we didn't pass the test, we didn't pass, I've got to make sure I'm getting my leaks right. We've had so many of them. Fittings and room 4. We had the pipe that, we had the pipe that burst in meeting room 4 and sprayed water, so that was a leak that needed to be repaired. And then they repaired it, but we still have low air. So that means there's more leaks. And so they started to walk the pipes, so get into the ceiling and walk around and try to find them. And so that air test on system, that 1,585, was them walking the pipes and doing auditory checks to see if they could find where the air leaks were. And they found one leak, and they patched it, but we still have low air. So that's just the charges from those actions from USA Fire Protection. And I can tell you what happened after that. So all of that was on late December and early January, the first week in January. The Thursday and Friday, so it would be the 4th and the 5th, and then a little bit in late December. So that's those charges. For the next chapter of this story, let's wait until we get to the new agenda items.
Okay.
So, but it is part of it, definitely.
I didn't expect deadbolts to be that expensive.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the deadbolt itself. It's an accessibility. It has to be connected to the accessibility switch on the wall, and it has to be, I'm going to get the word wrong, it is a deadbolt sensor, so it has to be able to know if it's a deadbolt strike. If the deadbolt is struck, then it communicates to the accessibility button, turn off the button, so that you're not pushing the accessibility button. The deadbolt is flung, the door is not going to open, but it's going to keep hitting against the deadbolt, straining the mechanism. So it's not just the deadbolt handset, it was the electrical and the connection to the accessibility button that made it
so expensive.
Yeah. Fun fact, that's the compressor running right now. I'll be talking more about that compressor later. I just wanted to call that out as it will feature in our conversation.
I had one question on page 9 for our budget for the year.
Yes, I have great news about the 2024 budget, actually. So it's not all doom and gloom. But yes, what's your question?
Well, just that we were over by $33,000 in salary and wages. What
Correct.
caused that?
So
Usually we're closer.
We knew that as of February that we were going to be over. I think I told you guys this. The city, when they give us the amount that it will cost to pay for the employees, but there was the health insurance numbers were supposed to come in better, which would have helped that number, but it didn't happen. But by then, the numbers were already what they were, and we were already allocated the money we were going to get. So as of February, we knew we were going to be over by that amount. So everything that I did all year was operating under the assumption of we're going to be over in that account. The city was aware of that. So that is what I expected. The good news is, though, since we're on the topic of the 2024 budget, let me just let's see here. I project, now we still have some final invoices coming in from 2024. And what did I say all year? Feel like we're going to be over budget, between the salary and wages overage. And I just want to emphasize again, we did not have extra staff. We did not have overtime. We had none of that. It was that number was never going to pay for our regular staff hours. In fact, we have had some vacancies for a while. So if anything, it could have been worse that we just haven't, we've had gaps in coverage. But obviously, if you look at maintenance and buildings and ground, we're over by about 17,000. And between those two, I was very concerned. I expect that we will be flat to budget on expenses. So not over, not under, flat. And I really want to emphasize that that is not by accident. That is not us getting lucky. That is myself and the staff working very hard to track every penny. We cut things in other areas. Like if you look, you're going to see overages in certain like extra money in certain areas. It's because I froze certain accounts to make sure that we could try to offset the overages in other areas, which is my job and what I'm expected to do. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. My point is that it was really difficult year to manage this budget given the maintenance issues that we had and given that we were coming from behind with the salary and wages. But we are actually flat. And I just want to point out one other thing. If you look at the library grant expense, I always start us off assuming we're not going to get any grants. So what that means is that when we do get grants, it actually counts as an expense against us. And it makes us look like we went over in that expense. Now we see the revenue come in on the other side, but we are actually flat to expenses with getting $9,000 in charges, and I'm using air quotes, in grant charges, which is just pure money that we got in revenue. And our Friends of the Library expense, they raised a little bit more money than expected by about $1,500. So I project we will be flat to expenses, and in addition, we got $9,000 in grants and an extra $1,500 from the Friends above the $5,000 we projected that they would give us. So
that room rental is way up.
Room rental is way up in revenue. We are busy, guys. If you look at and then to flip the page, it's in my director report. We'll get there in a minute. But like our stats, we were busy this year, right? We were busy. Used a lot of toilet paper. I had to spend more money on toilet paper this year than I have in previous, and it's not good toilet paper either. But we should be proud as a library staff, as a library board, as people who applied for grants and got them, for the Friends, for the staff who worked with the Friends for fundraising. We served more people than we did last year, and we were able to be flat to budget even though all of these things happened. And again, that's not by accident. It's everyone working hard. asking questions, monitoring the budget, and doing all those things. So right now, like I said, it's going to show us as having $50,000 extra in money. We still have invoices coming in for 2024. So that will change as the final invoices come in. So I don't think we're not going to have $50,000 in savings. I think we're going to be about flat to budget, so which is good.
I have just one little question.
Yeah.
So we saved money here and there where we could, right?
Yep. So
when we get our report, is it anything going to be affected as far as, like, you know, for the system, how we're supposed to have so much that we spend in certain areas? Are we going to still be fine?
That's a really great question. I love that question. We will be fine. Sorry, I just realized. Oops. Someone let me know if Kristen logs on online because I would have to move her over from an attendee.
It does say 2 panelists right now.
Yeah, but one of them's me, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah, if that number changes, let me know. Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about the minimums to exempt for the Waukesha County Library standards, and it means that in order to be exempt from the Waukesha County Library tax, we need to meet minimum thresholds as calculated by formulas for a municipal population of our size. And the biggest one that I was worried about was the materials expenditure, because that is where I tried to make up some savings in order to pay for the building expenses. We should come in fine, based on my calculations. If it'll be close, like we were sort of right there. If I'm wrong on that, the good news about the minimums to exempt is you can fail each category once in 5 years. And so I don't think I'm wrong. I think we got there. But, you know, that 24 will have been our year. But I think we should be good on all those categories. But that was the one I was worried about if there was one. So good question. Yeah, revenue was good. As Tracy pointed out, the the Friends revenue was great. The room rental did fantastic. Obviously, our revenue from the system came in as expected. Grants were great. Fines were, boy, people really were overdue this year. We in the past we have not met our fines. Lost and damaged, oof, lots of liquid damage this year. Lots of people reading and drinking at the same time. So yeah, it was.
Do people get fined for that then?
Yeah. The books that are damaged, it goes under the library lost and damaged. If it's just overdue, like late, then it comes out of library funds. All right, any other questions about the financials? We will be coming back and talking about the trust fund and system fund, which the reports are in the financials, but I want to set it up first.
All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes of December 2024 meeting minutes and financials, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
None. The motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the President's report. I have nothing to report this month. Director's report. Take it away, Brittany.
Okie dokie. Our tax assistance, not ours, AARP is coming again to offer free tax assistance. Just a reminder, it is technically for all ages, even though it says AARP, they cannot turn away anyone, no matter their age. It'll be Tuesdays in February. They have a new software system they want us to use. So people can make their own appointments, which is nice. Sometimes people are trying to coordinate with like a spouse and figure out like when they're free. Otherwise, if they call us, we can still make the appointment with them through the software the old-fashioned way. So,
Lee,
yes.
would you have the website to go to make those appointments?
Yes, would you like
If
me
they
to?
want us to do,
Yeah, do you want me to email it to you?
yeah, would you please?
Yep. And like I said, you can still call the reference desk if you would prefer to have a staff member make it for you. Otherwise, I can email you that link after the meeting.
Well, it might be good to let the client, the people know too, you know, other than me. If you want to get, you know, have it that the people aren't calling the library and doing it themselves.
Yeah, it's in our month library calendar. So
it is?
It is advertised.
Okay,
yeah.
I have that.
Oh, perfect. Okay, you should see it.
Okay.
But if you
Great.
don't, email me and I'll send it to you.
No, that's all right. I'm good then.
So far, most people that have been calling, we've been telling them about the online system, but they are not interested in the software. Let's see, what else? We are doing a puzzle competition, which I heard some of you talking about. It's something new that we're trying this year. So we'll see how that goes. We are trying an intergenerational story time at Staircrest. They were interested in doing that, and that has always been a nice thing that we've tried at the Regency, so that will be fun. Let's see here. We are selling hearts for $1 a piece in preparation for Love Your Library Month and for the fundraiser the Friends are having on February 8th. So that will be nice. Let's see. We already talked about the self-check machine that we moved, which has been nice. This is a number. Do what you want with it. So we can run a report and see how much our patrons saved by checking items out for the library. Now, I know you can argue about any statistic that ever comes down the pipeline. Obviously, what this is doing is it's looking at every item checked out. It's looking at the cost value that's associated with it when it was purchased in the system, and it's just saying if you had bought the book, you would have had to spend this much, but you didn't, you checked it out. So based on that interpretation of the statistic, our patrons would have saved over $4 million in 2024 by checking items out instead of purchasing them, which is really good if you end up not liking the book. Right?
Yeah.
They used to have that on the receipt
Yeah.
for individuals. Why did that go away?
Did it go away?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Because my
it's
kids like to
there.
have a contest every year, like who can save the most money from checking.
Let me look into that because do you use the self-check or?
Both. I mean, it depends on.
I wonder if the self-check doesn't do it. Let me look into that.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It was always fun to tally up year after year.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying before for the budget for materials that you kind of held off on some things. Did that cause patrons to have to go elsewhere to get the book that they're looking for? And did you get any feedback with that?
Yeah, great question. Not that was reported.
Okay.
No. Now, I mean, the hard thing is what that ends up meaning is just we have less variety. Staff are still working hard to prioritize what, the most important, items are. Sometimes you don't know what you're waiting for, like they might not have realized. Some of the items, frankly, were just back ordered too. So we ended up wanting to purchase certain items and then we just redistributed funds towards the overage because there's just been major back orders with the major publishers lately. And but yeah, I mean, I would have spent that money. We had books to buy with it, and now it's just for this year. It's just a matter of the staff prioritizing. Okay, what didn't we buy, and now what new things are coming out, and they're just going to have to prioritize. So
I'm just curious, like, could you somehow, when you're thinking of purchasing whatever items it is, if you know that 12 other libraries have it, it's like, well, do we really need to purchase that when someone, because the one book that I needed to read, you didn't we didn't have, and so I had to do the inner library thing, load, and I mean, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I had to wait a couple days to get it, but.
Yeah, staff, that is actually something staff really do. They will look and they'll see, like, who else has it in the system? Are there a ton of copies? Are there not any copies? If there's no copies, it might just be, it's just not a book that's, generally of interest. That's not always the case. But we do sometimes say, like, oh, that looks like it can be satisfied. They might have to wait a couple of days, so, we'll prioritize these other items. So yeah, it is nice to be able to have that shared system. Fun fact, they started talking about automating the library back in the 1980s, right? So card catalogs were a thing, didn't have a shared online catalog. And it took about 10 years of conversations to get to that automation stage. And I know you probably know that in healthcare and in education more than anything, right? That automation stage. And then beyond that, Muskego was one of the first 3 libraries to enter into a shared catalog system. It was Brookfield, Waukesha, and Muskego. And I just want to emphasize how actually significant and pioneering that was for Muskego to do that when they were pretty small. I mean, think about it. Back in like the 90s, how small the community was. And so the 2 basically largest communities in Waukesha County and Muskego decided this is innovative, this is something that's going to help the future. So I just thought that was kind of fun as I was going through agendas that Muskego has a tradition of strong and forward-thinking library services. So.
My thought process is just, I don't know if you want to oversaturate the market of buying, books when there's others that have 20 or 30, I don't know. It's just
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, they're always looking at how many copies are in the system, what is the holds queue for it. There's just lots of metrics they're looking at.
Okay.
It is really a science of building a collection. It's not just like, that looks fun, click. So they do a great job. Next library board meeting is February 18th. We're going to be appointing a nominating committee in April because we have a new slate of officers, or we have our May annual meeting, and so that's going to happen in April. Like I said, our Friends fundraiser is February 8th, our next one. Oh, building updates. I'll get more into that later. We will go over all of those details, so I don't need to talk about that now. But you may have seen, if you came in through this entrance, the glass mosaic. That was a collaboration with, I had reached out to the art teachers at the high school, and it was really exciting. They worked on a community project. I gave them some general guidelines about how I wanted it, or about like themes and like colors and things like that, and then they had a design contest, and then they all worked collaboratively to build that. We had a little reception last Thursday where the person whose design was chosen got a chance to speak, and all the student artists were there and their parents, so that was really fun. It was also when our compressor broke, and as I was stirring punch, I had to go run and turn off the water to the system, so that was fun. More on that later. Do you like how I'm like laying the groundwork for this conversation? Yeah. It's like saturating every part of this agenda. But it was really great. The artist did such a great job. We're really proud to have that mosaic. It's supposed to be an underwater tree, and all the artists are on the plaque there. So that was really great. The Friends approved our funding request for the year of $15,600. It's a very generous offering, and that money will go towards the programs throughout the year, which is really good because when I get to the point where I talk about our 2025 budget, programming is where I had to cut very heavily in order to make the budget work. So that money becomes more important than ever. And then last thing, if we switch to packet page, what is that? It's stapled 16. Those are just our stats for the year. So if you look at the total column now, this is when we can actually look at this column and say, okay, this is our year in review. We were up in circulation compared to the previous year, up in electronic checkouts, up in hoopla and canopy uses, up in holds that we shipped out to other libraries, library visits. Now, if you recall, our stats are garbage this year because of the gates not working right out of the gates. So I would encourage you to not look at the total amount, but just look at the last months, right? Like every month since August, you can see we were very busy. So project that out through the year, because we were very busy in the summer and the spring. We always hit the ground running. So obviously we'll have a better look at foot traffic next year, but every month was busier than the previous month, and sometimes by a pretty wide margin. We were up in most categories, and the meeting room use, we were up 12% compared to last year. So busy year, good year, people are using the library, that's exciting.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Back in page 13, for the children's department, I know Christina isn't here anymore. Is that position going to get refilled or not?
Yep, it's posted.
Okay.
Yep. So I can't remember when it closes. We decided to wait until after New Year's to post it because posting it right around the holidays, it just doesn't get the looks that it needs. So yep, it's posted, and it might have just closed, or I can't remember. Either it'll close this Friday or it just closed last Friday. I can't recall. Any other questions about the director's report?
So you noted the fun fact about the school district? 'Cause I don't think I'm considered someone from the school district.
You're not.
No.
Jennifer is. She's on maternity.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
Yep.
Because I know when, what was her name? The librarian. Tony.
Yep.
Was on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jennifer was here for one meeting, and then she's on leave, and she should be back for the February.
Gotcha.
I have a question, Brittany, sort of general. Do we have one of those light bats at the library for choking?
No, and that does not sound familiar to me. We have a first aid kit, we have an AED, Narcan.
Tracy, do you know about that, Tracy? Are they any good?
I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if it's hokey or not. You know, we don't have them at the hospital.
I'm not familiar with it.
It's like a device where it looks like a mask, but it has a vacuum, like an accordion on the outside, and when you push down on the accordion, it sucks out what it is. It's in the patron's mouth.
Okay.
What you see online looks good. I don't know. We just we don't have them at the hospital.
Okay, because I have an extra one. I may have an extra one. I bought my kids all one, and one doesn't seem interested, so I didn't know if you'd be interested in having it at the library.
I mean, you can definitely drop
Maybe
it
you'd
off.
like to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll take a look at it.
Patrons to eat and drink.
Well, kids swallow stuff too. I don't know.
Thanks, Barb.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to do Legos.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's why the parents are always in the room with them.
Well, all those years you never had a problem, so.
No, but
It's true.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Any other questions about the director report? All right, moving on to unfinished business. Discussion action, library board monthly meeting date and time. So I feel like I have to speak because we don't have a motion yet, because without us talking, there's no way we can get a motion. This was deferred from last month. We started to have a bit of a conversation. We talked about how it is hard for Kristen to arrive by 5 o'clock. We discussed how it would impact you, Tracy, if we started later, and then other people might also not have availability the later the meeting starts. We talked about how we can't move it to the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday because Alderman Decker has council meetings. And frankly, even if that wasn't a factor, I wouldn't want it on those dates because sometimes I have to go talk to council, especially during budget season. So that's a double factor there. We talked about how apparently in the bylaws we're supposed to vote every year at the annual meeting on the date and time, which apologies, I never knew that, missed it. So the goal of this discussion and action item was to, once you realize the mistake, you correct it when you can. So I was going to recommend that we vote on the date and time for the rest of the months until we get to the May meeting, and then I will formally put it on the May meeting, and we will do this song and dance again. Kristen's not here. I know I haven't heard anything from her since our last board meeting, but my memory of the last conversation she had was if it ends up disrupting other people, she doesn't want that to happen. Mm-hmm. She just indicated that, because of her work, it might be hard for her to get here, or she might need to be, on Zoom until, she can get here, or on Zoom in its entirety. So,
I think Dave was checking something out too.
I know.
With his
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah, and I spoke with him today about the sprinkler system, but I did not speak with him about that, so I can't recall what he said about that.
He had said that he was having a meeting that was going to be starting up, and he didn't
That's
know
right.
the timing.
Yeah.
So he said he didn't know
On
it.
Tuesday, on that third Tuesday.
Well, and actually where he's at right now is because the meeting that he was at that should only last half an hour is getting longer, he said, so he couldn't be here tonight. So I do think that meeting, my recommendation at this point is to satisfy correcting the error at the time that we notice it. I think we should vote to keep it where it is, and then hopefully everyone will be here for the annual meeting, and then the only other thing I can think about is moving it to the first Tuesday of the month.
Do we have to stick with Tuesdays?
We wouldn't. The thing I would want to do though at this point is if we're talking about a different day and time of the week, I would want to send out what do you call those things?
Monkey survey or
Yeah,
something.
that. And really, as opposed to having that conversation here in the meeting where we're using up
Right.
time, I want to gauge everyone's availability because I know that we may have other public meetings, conflicts, things like that. And
Right.
so I think I would want to gather all that data from you first and then present it to you so that we could really efficiently pick that. So I recommend for the
It's
next couple
impossible
months.
to talk about it without everyone here, too.
Right.
And that's why I want to gather the survey data. So what I can do, I think we should vote tonight to have it still be the third Tuesday of the month at 5 o'clock. And then in advance of the May meeting, I will send out a survey to all of you, gauge availability, and go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
Because I feel like sometimes city stuff seems to be Tuesday. School board stuff is always Monday nights, and city stuff is Tuesdays. I just feel like maybe we need to possibly have to pick a different day so that you're not getting into different
There's a lot
things.
more school stuff though, Wednesdays and Thursdays.
And
That's what I
that-
ran into.
And that is the one concern I have, just thinking about my own
Activities.
personal schedule, not that it's all about me. But, also here, we do have people who are possibly involved in other sporting and school activities that they need to support as well. And I also feel like Thursdays, people might have more social activities going on. It's almost Friday. So we can definitely think and talk more about this. But for the purposes of tonight, I don't think we have enough information to change anything. I think we just need to satisfy the terms of the bylaws. So.
Do you have a preference of day of the week?
No, Mondays are school board stuff. And Tuesday, it's just that this Tuesday I have CISA 1. I'm on the other board for CISA 1 for the school board. And it just happens to be the third Tuesday of the month. And it's always at 6 o'clock. But this week I don't have it because we have the WSB conference tomorrow. So But I'm just thinking, I mean, Wednesdays would be better for me, or Thursday. I don't have anything on Wednesdays or Thursdays somewhere. But
Google poll it.
yeah, I think so.
I will send out a poll. I will gather that data.
I mean, I've been on this board for how long, and it's always been this way.
Right, yeah, like
for the whole entire time.
since I've been here for 7 years,
So-
I've never.
So it made it work. So it's not like it's yet. But if you did switch the meeting time to 5:30, I don't think I could, because my meeting for CISA starts at 6.
Right, yep.
Yeah.
All right, I will send out a Google poll or SurveyMonkey or Doodlebug or whatever thing gets me the best formatted results. So if someone could just motion to do
Can I get a
Tuesdays-
motion to not change the meeting date between now and our annual meeting in May? We'll keep it on the third Tuesday at 5 o'clock for the next February, March, and April. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I move to approve.
Okay. Is that right? Motion to approve it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they have
There's
it on
a first, and Alderman Decker, I saw a second there.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say
Aye.
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 All those against? All right, motion passes.
And I'm not even sure, like, who's up for re-election, or like who's up.
I
don't know. It could be me. I don't know.
Thank you for reminding me that is also something I need to look into.
I'm not sure. Like when your term is up.
Is it always in April that it goes up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
at the annual
Yeah.
meeting, and so, yep, thank
I
you.
kind of feel like mine's always coordinated with when I'm on the board,
Mhm.
and I just got reelected last year, so I might be good for a while. I don't know though. I'm not sure.
I feel like, because I remember you saying, this is my last, not that you have to hold to that, but that's
Mhm.
my last term of interest, because you said you had one
A
more
senior
child to
this
get.
year. Yeah.
So we'll see. I will look that up too, because that will be
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go run again just because I don't have somebody in the district, but there's plenty of us. Our whole board is comprised of people who don't have kids on the board. And
Good, they're there.
yeah, exactly. That's just it. Like when I actually started on the board, they were begging people to run because nobody wanted to run.
Mm.
Since then, it's changed, but I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to. We'll see.
All right. Thank you for doing that, and I will be in touch about figuring out our best options. So.
All right, moving on to new business. Discussion, action, approval of trust funds, system fund withdrawal for the sprinkler system repair. Okay, should I have a motion first before discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve use of the trust fund, system fund withdrawal for the sprinkler system repair?
Don't we
After
need to have a
discussion.
discussion?
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
I mean, the hard thing, I know they always wanted a motion on the floor first, but I do think that the challenge is you don't know what you're approving yet.
No.
And you don't know the amount that I'm talking about. So I've never understood why I couldn't talk first, but that was always something people told me. If it's okay with you guys, I'll just start talking.
Yeah.
I think we need to have the discussion first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as you know, we've been having some sprinkler system issues. I've been talking about it at previous meetings. I talked to you guys about the 5-year test. So our sprinkler system is original to the building, 25 years old. At around the 10 to 15 year age mark, it tends to start showing leaks. We have what is called a dry system. It has oxygen in it holding back the water. We have to have a dry system because of the way the attic and building has been built. Oxygen, as you know, is corrosive. It would be better if we always had water in the pipes because that would be less corrosive. But that is the system that we have. So as a result, we have been getting leaks over the years. Now, if you look at packet page 19, you will see a list of repairs that we've done from 2018 to 2025. And you can have fun looking at all those individual numbers, but what I really want to draw your attention to is at the bottom, where it shows the totals per year. And so as you can see, we were doing fine, and then in 2022, it was a tough year. I was hoping that was an aberration, right? Sometimes you have a big repair, that's unfortunate. Then in 2023, we did great. And then, of course, 2024 happened. And as you can see, in 2025, in 16 days, we've spent $10,000 on repairs. And the fact that we are not even close to where we need to be is a problem. And that's why we are now moving from an operational budget discussion to a larger, like basically capital expense almost, for lack of a better term. If you're wondering how I was managed to spend $10,538 in that short amount of time, it's because we had so many leaks. We had to repair the meeting room 4 leak that they found in the wall, not the one that sprayed down on me, but the one that they found in the wall, because we didn't pass the pressure test on the wet side of the system, the fire department connection, or the dry side. And so they had to cut into the wall, they had to repair the pipe. We have now passed the pressure test for the wet side, but that was $2,000 right there of that $10,000. Then they have been walking around looking for leaks. They found 1 leak, they patched it. It didn't really move the needle, which meant that there were more leaks. Now, at this point, I want to mention that it is not unusual. We've had leaks over the years. We find them, we patch them, and then the system is fine again for a while. This is the first time in the 7 years I've been here where we patched, and it didn't do much. There's more leaks, many of them. So we were feeling not great. The weather was getting colder, so we already had low pressure, and then the cold weather makes the pressure even lower. If the pressure gets too low, let's talk risk for a second. There's the compressor again. It's running about every 5 minutes. It should be running twice a day, maybe. So every 5 minutes is burning out that compressor. That's a $10,000 compressor. So that's a risk that we need to talk about. The other risk is if the system floods. That's not great, right? It floods with water. Any corroded areas that we're holding on might pop at that point with holes, and then water is spraying in various parts of the building. Even if that doesn't happen, we have a race against time to get here and drain the system, because if it happens overnight, and temperatures is cold, the pipes could freeze if we don't get there fast enough. And that is obviously damage to the system. We know, those of us who were here last January, what it costs when a pipe bursts. Now, the pipe that burst last year was a hot water pipe. It was not part of the sprinkler system, but that was $28,000 of damage when all was said and done. So the risks here are burning out that fire-grade compressor. It's the pipes flooding with water if the pressure can't hold, and then if holes pop within the pipes, then water starts spraying. And the other risk is the pipes freezing if we don't drain the system in time, and then the pipes cracking and needing to be repaired. So this is an urgent matter. We have been, I know you can look at that number and say 10,538, we are not very lucky this year. I'm telling you, we have been very lucky this year. We have had 3 instances where we were this close to flooding the system, and it was a matter of luck and quick action from staff that stopped that from happening. The first time was January 6th. 2 a.m. I get a phone call, emergency call. They said the system is, it's giving off a trouble alert. Now, a trouble alert shouldn't signify low air, but I'm a really paranoid and anxious person, so I drove in anyway. And it was a low air alarm. I had to run to the back of the building, turn off the water, drain the system before the water flooded in through all the pipes. So we got lucky there. I spent the night at the library for the first time because I did not trust anything at that point. Then that January 7th, Saturday, I called a company, a different company, because I wanted a second set of eyes. At that point, we had one company come out. They had found that one, but they were like, there's more, what are the, next steps. I wanted a second set of eyes, a second opinion, right? So I called out a second company. They walked the pipes. They found 5 more holes. It required requesting a lift that we don't have to get up to the 20-foot ceilings. So what you're seeing of that 10,500, remember, about 2,000 of it was repairing the leak in the FDC in meeting room 4. About 6,000 to 7,000 of that 10,000 was that Saturday call. That was time and a half. We were there for 12 hours. The rental of the lift on a Saturday. And then they came on Monday for another 12 hours because they didn't have enough supplies to repair everything. So they had to come back on Monday, another 12 hours, went back up in the ceiling, and repaired all of those leaks. And that was about another 1,100, and that equals your 10,000. So it was, emergency calls are costly. I don't want to get another call like that because that's just going to continue to chew up our operational budget. We have got to figure out where else we're having low pressure, where else these leaks are. When they repaired those 5 leaks, and then they found one other one in a different part of the area, so for a total of 6, it helped, but it did not get us back to 40 PSIs, which is where we want both of those gauges. Right now, we are hovering at about average of 32 to 33 PSIs for each gauge. That's supposed to be 40. So you can imagine 5, 6 repairs, and we're still not where we need to be. They have walked the pipes multiple times. At this point, they are what they're calling them micro leaks. So they are leaks that can't be found through the traditional auditory sensing and certainly not visual. If it were warmer temperatures, much, much warmer, like spring, summer, we could flood the system intentionally and look to see where water was dripping. Then it would say, oh, these are the 7 leaks that we have. We cannot flood the system right now. That would not be good for the system. And also, on a larger scale, this is indicative of just there is corrosion happening in a bunch of places, right? That was Monday, right? So on that Monday, after January 6th, we still have the low air that we have. We started getting contractors to come out to figure out, like, what do we do to repair this system to combat the corrosion? So we're getting those quotes. In the midst of us getting our quotes, first time got lucky, 2 a.m. call. Second time we got lucky was a couple days later when Clayton, our maintenance person, was taking a contractor through the building. And he was literally in the room at the moment the the gauges just rapidly dropped. That would have immediately triggered something called an accelerator, which would have immediately flooded the system. It doesn't even give you the low air alarm. So we were just super lucky that he literally was staring at the gauges at the exact moment that a pipe burst right over Michelle's desk there. It was just corroded. The hole popped. I think I should have printed off a photo for you, or I should have brought in the pipe. It's not a big hole, but you can see it was corroding, and then finally a hole popped. And when that happened, the system lost air rapidly, and it would have flooded with water, except Clayton happened to be there. So we had to repair that hole. And then still getting quotes, because this is not a planned expense, so we want to make sure that we know what we need to do. I would call this urgent at this point. Last Thursday, I was here for the reception, and that's when we got a low air alarm again. I immediately ran to the back of the building, turned off the water, drained the main drain, and it was because the compressor broke. Now, I assumed the compressor broke because we've been running it every 5 minutes. Turns out we're just that unlucky. a part just broke in it. So we were able to repair that part for $94.
All right.
Which is the cheapest bill I've seen in a while. So the compressor is running again, but it was running every 7 minutes. Now it's running about every 5 minutes, and that's in part because of the colder temperatures. But that's my long way of saying we have a bunch of leaks that we can't identify through the traditional means. The recommendation that maintenance has, that I have, is that we need to replace all of the couplings, which is where the corrosion is happening at this point. Replace all of them, because right now the couplings that are up there are not a good coupling type. In the year 2000, it probably worked fine, but there are better tri-seal couplings now that can provide better, less dry rot and less corrosion. And then any corrosion that they find, they're going to replace the pipes there. So that is the solution we're recommending. The good news is it provides, it's not a full replacement of the system. I don't want to say that, like, once we're done with this, we'll never have a pinhole leak again, because there's many feet of pipe and we're replacing what I would call the main drain and the couplings there. But I think it will be very, very, very helpful. It will identify all of these leaks. It will get the pressure back to where we need it, and it will eliminate the corrosion on this main pipe that we have, and replace the couplings with better couplings. So that's the best move that we think now at this point. Yes?
If the entire system is 100%, what percent of the system are you proposing that we replace?
That is such a great question. I don't have a percent for you. All I can tell you is, in the sprinkler system, there's a wet side and a dry side. We're not talking about the wet side, okay? We're just talking about the dry side. In the dry side, there are two types of systems, or two sections, the System 1 and System 2. System 2 is the larger system. And of both of those systems, there's main pipes, so they're the 3 to 4 inch circumference pipes, or diameter, I should say, not circumference. And then there's the branch pipes that feed off of that main pipe. We are not suggesting replacing the branch pipes. We are just suggesting replacing the 3 to 4 inch diameter main pipe, which ironically, though bigger, is a thinner pipe and more likely to corrode than the thinner pipes. And that is the pipe that have the couplings attached to it, and that's where we think the leaks are.
So we would be replacing the pipe between the couplings also?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to say, if it's all the work of replacing the couplings, why not just put a new pipe too?
Yeah, and that originally we thought we could just do the couplings, but there's, as you could see, there's just corrosion, like that part wasn't around a coupling. We just need to get the system back to a good place, really clean up that corrosion, clean up the pipe, put the better couplings on that won't dry rot, in an oxygen-based system. Long term, I'm not talking this year, long term, we may want to consider a nitrogen system, which can be added onto our existing system, and then it puts nitrogen instead of oxygen, which is less corrosive. But first step, I'm just talking this year, first step is getting the system out of its leaky, corrosive state with the couplings that are needed. So that's sort of the history of what we've been dealing with. We've gotten lucky 3 times, and I do mean lucky, and I have been very, very nervous since January, just near my phone all the time. Clayton's been near his phone all the time, just really fearful that we get a call. At any point, frankly, another pinhole could burst, even if, you know, we hope that the leaks that we have remain the same size. We hope that we don't have any new leaks that form. Like, there's lots of hope going on right now, which is not a great management tool. So I've talked about the risks.
So how many couplings do you think we have?
80.
And they're on, I mean, this is just on Amazon, but they're $35 a piece.
Are they the tri-seal couplings?
I think
They have to be
it says
approved.
fire hose direct 2-inch NPSH fire hose coupling. I'm just Googling
Yeah,
it.
so
So let's just
it
say
has,
it's $50 a piece.
yeah, it has to be
So-
a 4-inch, 3 to 4 inch coupling. It has to be a tri-seal for dry systems. And the other thing they warned me of, like you can Google a compressor and find one for cheaper than $10,000, but it has to be fire rated. And so like he told me like you could find a compressor online, but it has to be according to certain fire codes. And because they know people need the fire code label, they jack the price up.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting 3 to 4 quotes, right? So we're not, this is a lot of money. So I'm not going to just not get 1 quote. So we have 3 quotes right now. The 4th people declined to put a proposal on it. We're looking to see if we want to get 1 more quote. These proposals are hard because it's not just here's a compressor, buy the compressor. They have to come out, they have to familiarize themselves with the pipes, they have to familiarize themselves with the sprinkler system plans, study the plans, walk around. I mean, they're usually here for several hours, and then they work on it for many hours more. So it is, that's why it has taken so long. Frankly, I would have moved faster on this and FYI'd you all at this meeting and said I had to do it, super sorry. But I won't do it without the appropriate quotes, and those are taking time. And so we just have to sit and worry and hope until we get the quotes in. We've gotten a couple quotes. They are very different. And so we are having the companies go back and re-look at the scope again and make sure that nothing was missed to try to figure out what the difference is. So I wish I could throw out a number for you today. I wish I could throw out contractor recommendations today. But because as of today, we sent them back and they're coming back out to look at the stuff again. I have some random stuff in my head, but I would hate to say it even out loud because I honestly don't know what I can firmly believe at this point. So,
Well, I mean, are you talking 20,000 or are you talking 100,000? Like more 100,000?
more.
So it's a huge amount.
It's a huge amount of money.
Okay.
So, Carrie, you had a question, and then I'm going to talk to you about the solution.
So this compressor is actually to pressurize the air for the system. It's not the heat.
Correct.
Because all this time
You've been-
I
I
always
know.
thought it was the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we hear this, for years.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, every time I think my peripheral makes the 0 look like a 1, and I think I missed Kristen. So every time I whip my head around, I apologize. Yes. So I'm hoping it'll be cheaper than that amount, but I don't know yet. So this is a big amount of money. It's not a planned amount of money. Had I known this year would have happened last year, I would not have asked for parking lot money. This is a higher priority. We really didn't know until very late in 2024 that this was starting to mimic 2022, and it's good until it's bad, right? Like our last inspection seemed fine. The pressure was holding. I thought we could go longer, but that was not correct. So these are our options at this point.
Brittany?
Yes.
What is considered the lifetime of these systems?
10 to 15 years for a dry system. It would have been longer if it was a wet system, but because of the corrosive nature of oxygen, 10 to 15 years is when you start to get leaks. I shouldn't say the final gasp, but 10 to 15 years is when you start to get leaks. So that would have been, the building was built in 2000, so at about 2015, and you can see at about 2018, right, we started having some repairs. And I didn't look back further than 2018. So the system lasted as expected according to the corrosive nature of oxygen. And we've been spending money, but a reasonable amount to maintain a system that's older. And it wasn't until 2022 that we had our first really big year. And then 2024 is sort of, late in 2024 was the signifier of, we've got a problem, it's more system-wide, because in the past, we would have a leak, we'd fix it, and we'd be fine for a while. We'd pass our annual inspections. This is the first time when it's like, we patch a hole, nope, there's still more. Patch another hole, there's still more. It's just, this is the state of decay that the system is in.
So we really have a system that's considerably beyond its life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it has not been recommended to replace the entire system. Replacing the entire thing would be incredibly expensive. So I don't even know. I would think millions. I really would. You have to pull all the pipe out of the building, install a whole new set up there, replace the entire sprinkler room, take a peek in that room on your way out. It would be, I haven't quoted it, don't quote me on that, but what we have to do is figure out a fix this year, and based on the contractors, based on maintenance, replacing the parts that are largely corroded, and then eventually putting a nitrogen system on it. I don't have the ROI on like how long that will last, and again, I don't want to claim that like we're not going to have another sprinkler hole once we do this at some point, but all I can do is say that there are rusted areas up there. We know we're losing pressure, and replacing that pipe and the couplings is the way to correct that. So, and we have to do something now. We just can't wait.
Just out of curiosity, why was the idea of replacing the whole system nixed? Is it simply because of the cost?
So I honestly, I haven't investigated it just because I am guessing we don't have the money. I mean, I know we don't have the money, and every contractor that I've talked to, this has been their recommended fix for the issues that we've had. I would assume in talking to 4 contractors that if it made sense to replace the entire sprinkler system, they would have tried to sell that to me. Last year, I asked one of the companies, like, tell me, like, would you replace the sprinkler system and when? And he said, oh, I wouldn't replace it. He said that would be really aggressive and a ton of money. He said, my recommendation is fix what you find that's broken. So that's what I was told last year when I talked to one contractor. So, you know, I mean, I can certainly ask what it would cost. My concern is I don't know if we have the time to keep doing this, and even if we do, that amount of money mid-year, I think would be really difficult to find without taking out a loan. And again, like I said, I don't want to like take an oath and say that this will 100% fix the system and we won't have to put any money into it for 15 years. I can't say that. But this is the recommended fix. And logically it makes sense. Remove the corrosive pipe, get the better couplings, and eventually attach a nitrogen system. I just don't know what the ROI will be. But I don't think anyone could answer that for us.
Are they looking at wanting to get a new compressor too?
Actually, the compressor, they said it was a very nice compressor.
Oh.
And it's newer. That one's not original to the building. The original one, which we had to run one night when that was broken, which is not a great compressor. It's a lower capacity. It smells and very noisy. But yeah, that's a newer compressor compared to the age of the building. So as long as we don't burn it out, as long as we like correct this before, so it doesn't have to be working so hard, they said it was a good compressor. So that is a good question.
I mean, it just kind of reminds me of when you have a fixed budget, which we have, you don't go out and buy a brand new car. you have a used vehicle and you fix the used vehicle and see how much longer you can get out of it. If you have a budgeted, just think of your own family budget and stuff. You just don't go out and buy a brand new car. That just isn't something that.
It would be very, very expensive to completely replace the system.
Is there a warranty on what they do at all? Or is it just like, well, we can't guarantee it?
I think there's a warranty on like if the couplings fell off in a certain amount of time, or if the pipe rusted out in like a year or something. But the very nature of the fact that it's a corrosive system, I am sure that the warranty lasts for a year or so, and then it's really just the nature of the system. Let me talk a little bit about the finances so that you can process that as well. So I wish I had a number for you. I don't. I'm not a fan that I don't have the number, but like I said, we have to send the contractors back out. We have 3 quotes, right? We're trying to see if we can get a 4th one in time.
Well, the 4th one, there was a 4th one, but they opted not to participate.
They opted not to submit a proposal.
Why?
They said they weren't familiar enough with the system, and they just didn't want to get
Too big
into
of a
it.
job, maybe.
Yeah.
So we're going to check and see if we can find a 4th company. 3 satisfies, the city's purchasing policy. That's sort of the minimum.
So did you not get the numbers from the 3rd one yet?
I have the number.
Okay, so did the 3rd one come comparable to the first 1 or 2?
So it's closer to the higher one, but it's still off by 20,000 from each other. So, like I said, we're sending them all back to recheck everything. Okay, so how we pay for it. There's a couple of options. Let's turn to packet page 11. The library has something called an expansion trust fund. As you recall, we talked about it a few meetings ago. One of the goals of mine was to talk about strategic planning in regards to these 2 funds, the trust fund and then the system fund on the next page. And what I told you at the time, I believe, was we have an aging sprinkler system and we have a roof that's coming due. And I said we shouldn't do anything with this money. We should save it because at some point we're going to need it. So here we are. The fund was originally created for the purpose of land purchase and or building creation back in the 80s. I went back and I found the old trust documents here. It says after 10 years, the money can be used for any purpose. So it was originally restricted for use for building and land purchase. But after the 10-year expiration, it can be used for any library purpose that the library board deems appropriate. So this money is available for you to spend. I know there's lots of numbers on it, and it's very confusing. The numbers that I want to direct you to are the cash in bank line, which is the second line, and then the library investments line. So there's $13,249 in a money market, and then $51,373 in an investment. Right now, finance is looking to make sure that there's no you have to keep 20% in the investment pool, or whatever that is. But our estimate right now is that $64,000. We have $64,000 in the trust fund that we could spend on this. If you flip to the next page, page 12, there's a lot of numbers here, and I beg you, I know it's super confusing. I'm not a fan of this report. One of my questions is going to be long-term, can we get a better report that doesn't have a bunch of random numbers? Because really the only number you need to be looking at is the fund balance reserved number of $14,784. But I am having finance double check that to confirm exactly what's in this account as well. And again, there's no like trust restrictions on this.
So this is in addition to the,
In addition to the 64, yep. So, the other thing that I want to mention about the system fund is that we do have some designated donations in there. That's where we put our donations that we can't spend. Money was given to us to install lighting in our display cases, and it was given for that purpose. So I would have to subtract that from the system fund amount. We also have money that's been given over the years. The plan was to use it to make the sidewalk. So I would like to sort of carve out those I mean, the one we definitely can't because it was given for that exact purpose. The other, it would be nice to not spend that money if possible, but we'll see. This is the biggest emergency we have. So what finance is doing right now is they're getting me with the final exact numbers for these two and what is liquid for us to take. Again, I wish I had those numbers for you today, but we have been spending a lot of time tracking the history of the trust fund to make sure that it was available for this purpose. So finance is going to get me those numbers, but these funds are available to us. The other option, if this number does come in the higher amount, after everyone checks their numbers, the other option, I've been in conversations with the mayor and in finance. The other option is to take a portion or all of the parking lot capital project. If you think of it this way, the plan, this is a capital project, right? It is over that amount. It is a capital project. If this had happened back in January, February, and March of 2024, this is the project I would have asked for. This is the project we would have been talking about, not the parking lot. And so, depending upon how much exact liquid money is in the system fund and the expansion trust fund, we may use all or portions of that and then portions of the parking lot. What we are going to do is because the parking lot is going to bid right now through the road program, but they're going to bid it in sections so that if we have to use a portion, because I don't know what portion yet, of the parking lot, we can still do half the lot or the front part, whatever, and then still be able to fund this priority project. I'm going to go before council next Tuesday. I know that the mayor gave an update at, what was the meeting most recently that you guys were in?
Public Works and Safety last night.
Yeah, I think he gave an update to you guys there.
He touched on it briefly.
Yeah. So I'm going to go before council next Tuesday and sort of give this summary, maybe not in this exact amount of depth, because I don't think you probably want the 30-minute spiel about this, but I'm going to give a nice succinct version of this to the council just to explain what's going on, because of course any time that we are asking to change the purpose of the funds given to us by council, we want to have that conversation. So I will be at the council meeting next Tuesday. This, like I said, really is an emergency. As soon as I get the quotes, we're going to start to move on this and update as we go, because we just, like I said, we've gotten lucky 3 times. The temperatures are so low. We need to move on this as fast as responsibly possible, and responsible meaning getting the quotes, figuring out which quote is the most fiscally responsible, and of course a contractor that we trust, and then making that happen. So I don't know if that means if we get the good quotes by tomorrow, we might start the work tomorrow, and then I'll continue to update council on Tuesday about the emergency project that's happening. It might mean that we have to stretch it out a little bit if we don't get, the responses back in time. But that is basically what I'm waiting for at this point. The fact that this meeting happened to fall on this date was fortuitous, that I could give you guys this update. But honestly, we need to move as fast as humanly possible to correct this.
Do you mind throwing out the numbers that you've gotten so far? I mean, even though they're...
I'm a little nervous to do that right now because everyone's rechecking their numbers. And this is a public meeting, right? I'd be happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you.
Okay.
If they weren't rechecking their numbers, if I had the numbers, I'd be happy to share it. Eventually, it's going to become a public, document. But I feel really uneasy, like sharing numbers before the contractors have had a chance to recheck their work, if that makes sense.
I'm just confused as to why you asked them to redo it if they gave you the quotes of what you wanted.
Because the numbers are so separate, I want them to recheck their work and make sure that they didn't miss anything.
But wouldn't that be on them? Because that's their quote that they're giving you.
It would be, but...
It made it look to you like it wasn't strictly an apples-to-apples comparison, right?
Correct. The measurement of the pipe is off between the companies. And so if we accepted one, they would only be obligated to do the amount of pipe needed. And if we accepted the other, they might replace more pipe than is necessary. So we really want to make sure we know what we need done. And it's just dramatically different. So. Yeah, and this all just happened.
I don't get how a quote can be so far. I mean, you ask them to walk through the system, and this is the repairs you want done, and this is what you want it. So how did that get confused? Like, how did they not come through with the right quote? I just
one company has walked the pipes. The second company has worked with us before and is familiar, but maybe hasn't walked the pipes. And the third company hasn't walked the pipes at all. They're doing, the ones that didn't walk the pipes are using the sprinkler system schematics to make that assessment. So I think there's possibly some variables happening there. So.
I mean, I think I would trust the ones that use the plans more than the ones that walked it, actually.
But the one who walked it also had the plans. They used both. So. Like I said, I wish I could have had really firm everything today. I recognize that what I've done is sound the alarm for you and said we're working on it, but honestly that's the best we can do right now, is that we have multiple quotes out. We're having everyone double check their work, which is good for this amount of money. We've investigated the history of the funds, and we're verifying what is available to us through these two funds. And then the quotes will come in, the fund amounts will come in. We're bidding the parking lot in a flexible way so that we can use that money if we need to. I'll update council Tuesday, and we are every 2 hours checking the gauges and documenting what the PSIs are at. Once it gets below 30, that's when you get nervous. This morning it was at 30.5 on one and 31 on the other, but that's about the lowest that they've gotten when the temperatures have gotten this cold. So I was actually happy to see that it was at 30.5. I thought it would be lower given how cold today was. So we are steady right now at the low that we're at, provided that the leaks don't get bigger, we don't get any more leaks, and the compressor holds. And the more time we spend in this state, the more risk there is of those things getting worse. So,
do all of the repair people say that they'll be able to start right away?
2 of them have said that they can mobilize very quickly and throw a large team at it and get moving. The third one did not articulate that But I don't know if that question was asked. I'd have to follow up with Clayton on the third one, but 2 of them said yes.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, Brittany. I feel very uncomfortable approving anything without knowing the quotes and knowing the finances and all that. Is there a possibility that we can have a second meeting
Yes, and
to do? I mean, I don't know how you guys feel.
so that was the other thing that I was going to say. So we could have a special meeting for another day this week. I wanted to put the agenda items because I wasn't sure. I thought I might actually get the numbers by then. So I was feeling hopeful. Obviously, I sent out the agenda last Thursday/Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it on so that we could be prepared to vote if we were ready and felt comfortable. We can certainly always have another meeting. I will be honest, the level of concern that I have for this situation is if I had the quotes and this meeting wasn't today, I probably would have started the work, right? That is the depth of the urgency that I feel. I mean, obviously I've been looping in the mayor and maintenance. It's not like I'm sitting in a vacuum, the library director, trying to make all these decisions. You know, in the absence of a meeting, sometimes I do have to make decisions. So that is the urgency that I feel. However, we can do one of 2 things, and I don't care either way. We can have an emergency meeting once I get the quotes. We can vote to approve with certain restrictions, like take no more than X amount out of the trust fund and system fund, vote to approve the lowest bid, whoever that bid is, you know, without knowing who the contractor is. So you could put those restrictions on the votes. We could have an emergency meeting. Unfortunately, I can only present to you what I have in this moment at the time of this meeting. So that is where we are at.
Do you have any gut feelings about how much you'd like to use out of this emergency money? I'm not talking about the money that's been budgeted for the parking lot. I'm talking about the money on this.
Yeah, my gut is that we should empty the expansion trust fund, so the full 60,
Use it all.
Use it all. Yep. And then out of the system fund, it would be ideal. So the 3,793. Sorry, we have $4,000 that were designated for the lighting project, given for that purpose, out of whatever's in the system fund. So that we for sure have to set aside. There has been a donation. A business has been donating to us for the past several years to the tune of $7,000 now. And I've kind of been watching it and hoping that it could pay for the sidewalk to connect the side of the building to the amphitheater. Because we have our story times outside and people with strollers, walkers, people who are senior citizens that might, or anyone really who needs a flat surface. So it would be nice to do that. But again, this is a greater priority. So right now, if the number really is that $14,784, in a perfect world, I would save at minimum $4,000, but possibly $12,000. So it wouldn't leave us a lot in the system fund. But
I guess I'm confused as to why you want to use reserve funds for something that is supposed to be for a reserve, where you just said prior that if you knew that this was the project that we needed to do, you would have just done that instead of the parking lot. So I'm hesitant to use funds that are supposed to be there for reserves in case something, I don't know, else happens. And now we've just drained those 2 funds and we have no backup.
yeah, I mean, look, we can do it either way. I guess the question is, do we want to, if it comes in where it might come in, then it means that we probably could do, I don't know, half the parking lot and then pay for this system. And you're right, we could continue to save these funds for emergencies. What was I going to say?
I don't know, what do you guys think?
I
Like,
don't
what do you-
know.
I mean, reserve fund, we have them for the school board.
Yeah.
For whatever reason it is that I just don't wanna.
I mean, I would be
You know.
fine to not touch these funds. I really would. I want to acknowledge that I do think that, like Alderman Decker, I don't know if you remember the 5-year capital plans that were presented. I mean, I wouldn't expect us to have it memorized. 2026 is going to be a difficult capital year.
Because of the roof, right?
Because of the roof, but then I was looking at other departments and what their requests were, and if I recall, there are some pretty high ticket items coming in.
That's right.
And I think one of them was a water tower, if I recall. Don't quote me on that. But either way, I remember looking at 2026 and going, oh, I don't even know if we're going to get our roof in 2026. Mm-hmm. So I just want to acknowledge that, and you have to readjust plans all the time, that if we put off the parking lot in totality or in part, it may be a bit before we get it. And that's fine, because this is by far the more important thing. Do I think that the purpose of the expansion fund was really to care for the building? I do. I mean, that was the original intent of the document. So I don't think it's a wild and out of band, use of those funds in particular. The system fund, I'd much prefer not to. Those have been individual donations from patrons, and it would be nice to honor their donations with things within the building that benefits their services. Obviously, a sprinkler system benefits them too. If you had to ask me if I had some choices to make, and I wish I could give better recommendations if I had numbers, I would feel more comfortable spending the entirety of the expansion fund. I would rather not touch the system fund. And if the board chooses to want to take the entirety of the whatever the cost is out of the capital parking lot project, I think it is perfectly reasonable to do that and then just refinish whatever part of the parking lot that could be done with it. I think that's a very reasonable option as well. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do any extra fundraising if need be, like asking for the public to donate? Because I think the pipes, nobody ever sees, nobody ever notices, nobody has any awareness of. Things like the roof, I think that patrons could say, oh yeah, our library could need a new roof, we could donate, or also the parking lot. Those are things that are visible to the public, but the pipes are not. But anyway, is it allowed to do a fundraiser if we wanted to?
We could do a fundraiser. The thing that I would caution against doing that in this exact moment is we technically already, you could say, if you don't want to use the capital money at all, then yeah, we probably don't have enough money to fix the sprinkler system.
Right.
But given that we have a certain amount of money that has already been fundraised by previous patrons in this expansion fund, I think it would be a little problematic to say, raise money, we already have this money over here, but also give us money.
Oh, I see.
So I think we would have, I think that would be tricky. Now, if we ended up emptying this fund, we could certainly do a fundraiser to say, we had to pay for a sprinkler system, we're looking to, rebuild this fund in order to care for the next phase of it.
Oh, I just meant, let's say we did our pipes and that used up all the money that we would have done for the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then the parking lot has an emergency.
Yeah, anything could happen.
In the future,
Really?
I'm just saying, if we put off, or the roof if we don't get the funding, but we really decide that we need it, are we allowed to do fundraising?
We are, yeah, and specifically through the Friends.
Okay.
So we would do that. So that is an option down the road.
Okay.
So yeah, we have some options.
Is a loan an option?
What's it?
A loan.
A loan is an option, but I wouldn't recommend it because I mean, again, this is not great, right? In a perfect world, we would have known this was coming and been able to ask for the funds. But in the absence of that, the fact that we have a large capital project that we already asked for that we can restructure and emergency, like, that's not the worst scenario to be in. So I would not recommend asking for a loan that would have interest that we'd have to pay back when we actually have the money.
Yeah.
We just have to redesignate it. So.
Is there the possibility of a GoFundMe? I've heard like
There you
the
go.
motorcycle shop wants to get more involved in things in the community. Maybe other businesses are doing well now too, and may be interested in helping out for, the emergency situation.
So
Even patrons might be interested in donating to something too, if they knew about it,
I think that we have the money, we just have to reclassify it. So I don't know if I would feel comfortable telling people, we need this money, but then we actually have it sitting in the capital fund and in the expansion fund. What I do think, though, is that it's okay to say, we had an emergency, we had to fix it, and at a later date, we can do fundraising. We need to refill our piggy bank, we need to, I don't think it would be a good look to do a GoFundMe right now when we have money sitting here.
It's just so much easier to get people to donate to an emergency than to say you want to replenish your kitty.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you on the urgency of it, but I also think by the very nature, I mean, I know it's easy to throw up a GoFundMe, but like I don't want to spend too much more time,
Yeah.
Right. I want us to be able to take action. I appreciate that, though. Michelle, you had something?
So I'm kind of on the same page with Tracy because we're operating in a black hole to an extent without knowing what the quotes are and without seeing the capital budget. Like, here's what we have for the parking lot. Here's what these quotes are. Here's maybe we want to just take a little bit out of the expansion trust and, but we can't make any decision until we know. And so when we're on the agenda, it says we want to vote on taking funds out. I don't think we're in a place where we can do that. Is that?
And like I said, I wasn't sure what we would have by today, so I had to hope for the best so that we could take action if we needed to. You want me to throw one more fun variable out here since we're already swimming in uncertainties? We don't even know what the parking lot will come in at, right? No. Because it's going out to bid right now. Now, I got proposals for the parking lot, and I based my estimate, that $200,000, based on it. But I also built in contingency because you never know what you're going to find when you start hacking into a parking lot.
Right.
So it is very possible that parking lot won't cost $200,000. It's possible that when the bids open up, it costs $170,000. So we may actually have more than we need for the parking lot. I have no idea. So that's just another variable, which frankly we won't know until the bids come back, which is in a few weeks, which again, that's just more time that we're hoping. So.
Okay, Brittany.
Yes.
I know you have the hesitation of telling us what your quotes are, but we don't discuss things outside. We do not know who the vendors are. You could give us like a ballpark between this and this. We don't know whose quote is what. I can't see why you would be afraid to just throw something like that out.
But this is being recorded.
To give us
they can
an
go in
idea.
and listen to the recording.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern, Barb, I mean, if you really want me to do it, I can. My only concern is that, like, as Alderman Decker said, it is being recorded, and
okay. Oh, that,
people
I
might,
that. Yeah.
They could listen and change their quotes based on things, and I just want, I want their real quotes. I want the quotes
Okay,
that
I
were
see
given.
that. Yep.
But if anyone wants to call me on the phone tomorrow, I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I share all of your strong desires for more information, right? That's what I want. That's why I haven't done the work yet, because we don't have the information we need in order to make that decision. So I agree with you. Like I said, the new business items were listed so that we could take action if we needed to. And so really your recourses are to either... I
mean, I've been on plenty of board meetings where we've had situations where we've had to reconvene for emergency meeting. And whether it's like, all Zoom because we're all wherever we are and that's what it is. But I kind of feel like this is similar to that.
Yeah,
I do feel like we should be meeting separate for it. I just feel like it's got a high enough priority that I will take the time to, meet for that.
Do we need to vote on that then? Say that we'd rather push this off until we can have an emergency meeting with actual quotes?
I mean, you can't do anything until you get the quotes anyways.
Yeah, I guess what you would do with these new agenda items is just defer them. And I don't know if you have to defer an agenda item. Do you have to vote to defer an agenda item, or can you just...
I wish I knew the answer right off
You
the
do?
top of my
You
head.
do.
Yeah, we
Okay,
did.
all right.
Yeah.
So...
Someone I have to motion to defer to the following meeting, and then someone seconds it, and then we vote.
Yeah, because we didn't have a motion originally, so we don't have to.
Right, we don't have anything on the table right now.
I did update Dave. When he called me to say that he couldn't attend, I did give him an update on everything that's going on, and he just sort of echoed, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're getting the quotes, you're making sure they're accurate. He had said he felt comfortable putting, having the Muskego team, and I think by that he meant me, maintenance and whatnot, making the decisions we need to make. But I also recognize that we have lots of variables, and I'm perfectly fine to have another meeting. We would just need to make sure that we have a quorum, and what's the word I'm looking for? As long as nothing changes that increases the, I guess, severity before we can meet, right? And that's the thing. If we start losing pressure rapidly, then that increases the urgency of
the emergency.
The urgency of the emergency, right? So, Barb, did you have something?
Yeah, can't we just give you permission? I mean, I totally trust that obviously you check everything out and you've been very good at coming up with the best way to do things. Can't we just give you the permission to, as you see fit,
I think, Barb, it's not
go
so much...
forward?
I don't have a problem with you having someone fix something. It's the money situation. Like, where are you pulling stuff from where and how much from this fund to that fund? That's the part that I'm leery about.
Yeah.
I trust that you will find the right maintenance person to fix that. That's not the issue.
Right.
It's like, how much money are you pulling out of this trust fund and this, that's the part that's making me hesitant.
Right. So what I'm hearing is the work needs to get done. Obviously, we're going to pick the contractor that provides the lowest responsible financial bid.
Right.
Obviously, if we don't trust the lowest bid, we go to the next, so that those things are true and accurate. And then the real question is, how do we piece the financial part together to pay for it? I think that's totally fair.
That's the part where I'd like us to be at the table.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know if we necessarily have to make that decision right away either. This project, they said, will probably take at least a week to do, maybe 2 weeks. Now, that probably won't get us to the February board meeting, but it's probably not going to be a tomorrow thing, right? So, the bill won't come due for a bit, and in that time, obviously. We can start the work and knowing that we have these different financial options. So we can call a meeting at whatever time we need to for that, to make that decision before the bill is due. So.
Listening to what she had to say, I think she made some very good input there. I think we should fund it. If we're going to be talking about funding, I think we need to fund it from the project of the parking lot. first.
I'm okay with that. I
Yeah.
mean, it provides us with some more flexibility. So, yeah,
And I get the visibility thing, because everybody wants to see what the fix is, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, like when we have bathrooms in oh my gosh, the bathrooms are great, you know, like, but when we had to just fix the flooring and something else, they're like, you know, you don't see it, and so it's not a big deal. So I get that, but I worry about pulling things out of reserve funds for things that we already been okayed on. You know, I don't know. I just get
Yeah,
a little leery about
That's a
that.
good point. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
no,
Right, because we didn't have any idea about this system
No.
having
No, right?
Yeah, I
a
mean,
major problem.
it is
Could be
a
another
capital.
system.
It is a capital project
It is.
in every definition.
Right.
So I think that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. It is actually it is my preference, actually. So I think that's a valid way to go. So, okay, so let's think here for a minute. It sounds like, okay, let me think. I have to think about order of operations here. It sounds like at this exact moment, you're not interested in using the trust fund or the system fund. You want to use so you could probably vote today to,
I don't know why we have to vote on the funds right now.
you don't.
I don't think,
No.
yeah.
You don't. I mean, it
Wait.
just sounded like you guys
Yeah.
said that you weren't interested, but maybe that would change if you got additional information. So,
Right.
I guess
I mean, to be honest with you, we're leaving you with what you would do normally anyways. Like if there was an emergency situation and you had to react to it, you would just react to
Yeah.
it. So I don't think that there's anything that we really need to do at this moment in time.
I mean,
I think this was great discussion, and I'm glad you brought it to our attention.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything in particular that we have to move forth on, because you don't have the quotes.
yeah.
You don't have
Yeah, I mean,
amounts, you don't have anything for us
For the
to.
next meeting,
No.
probably.
Right.
Well, if you had to take action like even later this week, they're going to have to be paid. You'd be
You would be billed first.
You'd be billed at least net 15.
okay.
So like, let's say today is Wednesday, let's say it does take them about a week, so they don't finish until at least next Wednesday or Thursday of next week, then the bill's net 15, so that pushes it out about 2 weeks more. So we definitely have some time to make that decision. I guess the most important thing today, I wanted to echo the urgency and to say that we're gathering the quotes and that I will likely be making a decision on that contractor and executing that. And I guess the real question is, are you okay with me doing that without a special meeting?
And then we would have to figure out which funds it came out of.
Right, which is a
Right.
larger conversation based on ultimately what does it cost, and frankly, I don't know where the bids come in. If we're lucky enough to get the bids back before.
Well, that's just that I'm curious, like, are you thinking that you have to do the emergency before you get the quotes? Because I wouldn't do that. Because I would wait till you get the quotes.
Not before I get the quotes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that I've waited.
Yeah.
Urgency is here, but we at minimum need the quotes. So
Mhm.
my plan was to get the quotes, make sure I know what they are, pick the lowest responsible quote, and then schedule the work. And then, we'll know what it costs, so we'll know what money we need to find. We know we have these pots. And then if I'm curious when the bids are coming in for the parking lot, because that could help
Correct.
as well. So.
I mean, would you guys be okay with having it be as an approval by the executive board, like the president or treasurer, but you know what I mean?
Well,
Where you could have at least a second opinion or a second,
that's another
thought.
good point. I could call
The officers?
the officers or it can't be a quorum, or,
Right.
I have kept Michelle in the loop. We ran into each other at a brownie meeting for cookie captains.
Cookies, yeah.
And I was
There
like,
you go.
Michelle, let me tell you what just happened. Yeah, I could call and just like do a double check there and make sure that it doesn't sound too wacky. I have been keeping the mayor up to date as well, and I'm going to show him the proposals. So, and then obviously I'll update council as well, because eventually we will need to talk to them about reclassifying those parking lot funds. So there's definitely surveillance sounds negative. Support in reviewing these decisions. So if you guys feel comfortable, I can just bring that proposal. Michelle, do you just want me to run it by you?
What do you want? Treasurer?
Vice President. I mean, the three of us.
Do you want the three of you to get the?
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, at that point, Alderman Decker's going to hear about it on Tuesday if I have more information at that point. It'll be
I'm
more
already in the
I know.
There you go.
Leave two people out then.
Would you rather have a say in it
I just
personally? Or are you okay
no.
with like?
I'm just wanting to check.
And I'm not,
right?
yeah, no, I'm not, oh,
Not that
absolutely.
I don't trust you, Brittany. Like,
Well,
but
look.
do you even want to be doing this without having some sort of
I mean,
verification
no, I
from
mean,
the board?
ultimately-
I think I'd want some other person to kind of help me.
No, I mean, I want to come in next month and have you guys feel comfortable, and it is ultimately your money. I'm just managing it. I can give my professional opinion, but yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely your decision ultimately, and so.
And we're on the record for it, guys.
Totally. Why, what if she runs it by me, and if I think there's anything that we want more opinion on, I contact the other officers, and then we talk about it then. But if it's reasonable, like you said, and it's the lowest reasonable quote, and you know what you want to do, then we okay it, and then at the February meeting, or if we have to do it sooner, we figure out how to pay for it,
Yeah,
what pot we want to take it out of.
Do we need an emergency meeting then?
probably not.
I don't
No.
think so.
Okay.
Probably not.
Then we can avoid an emergency meeting.
Right. Because I'm just thinking, like, when I'm on the CISA 1 thing, and on occasion, we have situations, because they have to approve salaries and roles and stuff like that, it's just the vice president, the president, vice president, and the treasurer that meet, because we don't have a secretary. So, and then we just meet for, literally like 15, 20 minutes to say, what do you guys all think? We all are in agreement, and then we just move on.
It just occurred to me, is there any bylaw about this?
Yeah, I don't recall having emergency stuff in our bylaws.
I don't believe there is.
So if
Really,
there's nothing in the bylaws that authorize this, and that, I don't think that can really fly.
well, it doesn't say we can't. Where I think we find this is the city's purchasing policy, which, is where we get approval for purchases, except in the case of emergencies. Let me just pull up the bylaws. Okay, ID, membership.
I think this situation is considered an emergency, even though it's not.
Special
This
meeting.
we called, request of 3 more members, except in cases of emergency, at least 48 hours notice. It's just saying that you can have a special meeting, quorum meeting, parliamentary.
See, I'm wondering if you always have to have a quorum. something
You,
like that.
you need a quorum for special meetings as well.
What about the ad hoc committee?
It's just for special projects, like if we decided we wanted to, have an exploration committee to discuss purchase of a branch location across town. So. Here I am. Appointed, accountable, direction, subject to policies. So act as technical advisor, should be ready to attend all board meetings. And shall have no vote. We don't. Conflict of interest. The rule of resolution. Liable to be amended. Yeah. Let me.
I feel like if you motion something and people approve it, then it's called action, right? So like if I said, I motion that the executive board approves Brittany's decision on the thing, on the quotes, and we all vote on it, then isn't it just actionable?
I don't know if that's legal. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Because you're most, I don't know.
I think you have the authority now as the director to do this, to make this expenditure.
Did it say anything about the budget? Like
the bylaws do not, I mean, it talks about the library board having authority over expenditures. It
Right.
does not talk about, because really, these are board bylaws, these are not my role. Now, if you, hold on, let me just.
I mean, as long as you're going by the city's purchasing policy and,
Right.
and carrying this out,
Right. Now,
where the money is ultimately going to come from is going to be ultimately our vote. And it sounds like we have time to really decide how that's going to be allocated.
yes, right.
yeah,
We know it's coming from somewhere. And we know that we have the money available because it's been appropriated.
just trying to pull something up quick. That's not right.
What does the city say for bids? Like, do we have to
Well-
formally approve the bid for work to be done?
So they're not technically bids, they are proposals. Bid is like the action of taking a thing to bid for public construction. So the purchasing policy outlines this, and I'm trying to pull it up. Where did I put it? It's not going to be a document you find online. It's going to, here we go. Finance. General funds. Policies and procedures. Which is copy action policy. Oh, I don't have that here. That's frustrating. Bart disappeared. I know, I had to unplug because I'm delving into a variety of folders, and
Okay.
I've learned over the years not, she's here,
Oh,
on my computer, she's just not projecting.
perfect. So are we trying to
Well,
determine?
it says on here, so on our bylaws for the president, it says, the president shall preside all meetings of the board, authorize calls for special meetings, appoint all committees, execute all documents authorized by the board, serve as an ex officio voting member of all committees except the nominating committee, and generally perform all duties associated with the office of the president. So as long as she confers with you, I think it should be fine.
I wish I could.
According to-
The city has a purchasing policy that basically says if there's a certain amount of money expended, it needs to have the authority approval of.
Right, I think it's $500, isn't it?
No,
Isn't
it's
it?
not. It's
Is it
20,
higher than that?
it's 25,000
Oh,
for department head to make that decision or below. Obviously, this is going to be more than 25,000. So then it moves up to like the finance director / the mayor, or in your guys' case, the library board as the governing body. So the purchasing policy says, yes, in a normal state where we're not
right.
trying to move urgently, that you guys, that I would bring the proposals before you and you would vote to approve it. And so I was trying to see if I could pull up the document where it talks about, I think it says something about like in periods of urgency, then you just update at the next possible, thing. I can look at the purchasing policy more tomorrow. My computer won't connect to the network drive that I need it to access the document. And I know this is weird because right now we're stable, right? So like the building's not on fire, right? So like I know it doesn't feel like an emergency, but like given all the trips that we've had, I'm waiting, and it's going to be fine until it's not, right? Like it's not fine. We are at 33 to 30.5 degree PSIs, and it's just going to take one slip to plunge it, and one moment when it happens at 3 a.m. and we don't get there in time. So even though like the building is not on fire, it is still a very urgent matter. There is some emergency approval authority that happens, but in terms of the amount that likely we're going to spend, typically I would always bring it before you guys. And given that it's not part of our normal budget, normally I would chat with council as well, right? Which is why I'm going to talk to council on Tuesday. And so the real question is, how are we doing until then, right? And
I'm thinking you can act. You can act. When you get those bids and you make the decision as to which to go with, then you can act.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm happy to call you. I'm happy to call Tracy and Carrie. Like, I'm happy to call the executive committee and update you on what we found. Certainly. I will be updating the council on Tuesday. I'm, of course, happy to have an emergency meeting if you guys want to have one. I can literally do whatever you guys want and what you feel comfortable with.
I mean, I'm guessing that when you bid this out and or requested out, or whatever you want to call it.
That's your proposal.
And come back. I mean, 99.9% of the time you take the lowest bid. I mean, that's just kind of, I mean, that's what we do. We don't want to spend excess money that we don't have to. So like I said before, my biggest concern is where is the money coming from and how are we allocating that money.
Right.
So that's what I do not want to just like have one person deciding. I think that needs to come back to us, and we need to make a decision.
And I would feel much more comfortable.
I think maybe everyone would like it if you just sent out an email once it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And just let us know.
This is what we're spending.
This is what we're spending.
This is how it's
This is when it's happening. And
I can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
because I think that's what we probably really want to know is
Right.
Yep.
because it's going to happen before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Email
Or
You would think, but
And then we would at least have an idea of what's happening and have some time to think about
the finances.
the
part, too.
finances.
Yeah, that'll give you
So
some things to think about when you're not thinking about other things. Okay, so I will email the board on which quote we accepted. Do you want me to call anyone before I accept the quote?
It's up to you. Because, I mean,
Alright.
do you want to
you
make
gave
that
us the
1%?
ballpark of 100,000. If it is significantly more than that, I think we want to know.
Yeah. It's like,
I mean, not that we would do anything
would you
differently
feel
about
comfortable
it.
going forward
but-
with it? I mean, I mean, this is on you because I don't know. I'm just thinking to myself, I would probably want a second opinion from the board, but that's me.
Yep. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's ultimately what you guys are comfortable with, right? Like, I mean, I know it's what I'm comfortable with as well, and I appreciate that. But like, you're right. We have to stand by this. I will obviously email you what we want to accept. I'm happy to call Michelle or Michelle/Tracy/Carrie.
What was our what did we get approved for the?
200.
Okay. So it better not be over that.
If
Right?
it's more than that, I quit. I will go work at a flower shop.
Okay, then.
Right. It should not be that. But, all right. It sounds like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to email you all. I will call as many people as I can get a hold of easily on the executive board. So I will try to call Michelle. I will try to call Tracy. I will try to call Carrie. If I can get a hold of you in a reasonable amount of time, I will, whatever subsection of you that I can, council will be updated on Tuesday. And who knows, I may not even get the quotes.
Yeah, watch. I mean, you never know.
I don't know. I
do
don't
that
know.
next month, and she'll be like, I finally got the quotes.
Yeah.
And here we go.
And the side of my head will be white, and I will be probably shaking due to, because I tell you, every night I stare at my phone, and I'm terrified to get an emergency.
But remember, we are insured,
We are.
and
I
things
know.
are covered by insurance,
I know.
hopefully.
But only one pipe burst in January, and it was a lot. It was very disruptive to the staff and to the patrons, and it took a lot of extra time. And it is not a coincidence that it happened on January 16th, and this January 16th was this past Thursday when the compressor broke.
Mm.
They were joking about it with me that morning, and by the evening I was turning off the sprinkler system. So next January 16th, I'm taking a vacation day, leaving the country. Okay. So, all right. So I know what you want me to do. To me, it almost feels like you're voting to defer the first one. And the second one, it sounds like, if what I'm hearing from you is accurate, that the vote is not to pick a contractor. The vote is to have me pick a contractor based on the lowest reasonable bid and checking in a reasonable amount of time if I can get from the executive committee. That's what I'm hearing. So you could vote on that, or you could decide, no, I feel like that agenda item feels like we would be picking a proposal and not voting on me picking the lowest proposal and checking with the executive board, and then you can just defer it knowing that these wheels are in motion. So I guess that's up to you on whether you'd like to just defer both of them, or...
I feel like we have to do something because it's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Or what if we don't want to? Can we vote to remove it from the agenda?
Not remove it.
No, we should have done that at the beginning.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, but we had to discuss it to decide where we'd end up, right? So can't you, at minimum, you could vote to defer it, but I would also think you could vote to not approve the system and trust funds, because you're not approving that right now, right?
True.
So you can vote to say to not approve it. We don't have enough information, so vote that down. And then for the contractor proposal decision, you could either say we can't make a decision. You could vote no, we don't have enough information to make the decision, but we recognize that Brittany's going to continue to move with the emergency authority and make that decision in the meantime. You could do that.
Okay, so can I get a motion to not approve? Is that a double negative? The first item for discussion action, the approval of trust funds, system fund withdrawal for sprinkler system. Or do I say, can we get a motion to vote on it, and then we just all say nay?
I think you...
No, we have to actually put it like that.
I would say, can I get a motion to not approve the use of the trust funds and system fund withdrawal for the sprinkler system?
And then we all aye that?
No, then someone has to say, so moved, and then someone seconds, and then we vote.
And then people will say yes to that, because you're saying yes to the not approval.
Okay,
Or-
that's what I meant.
Or if you,
I know the second again.
Yeah.
I
if
meant
you don't want to make it weird, you could just say, can I get a motion to approve it? And then there's a
Oh, yeah,
first
and then we
and
have
a
to deny.
second, and then you can just all vote no.
that's what I
Yeah.
was trying to.
Yeah, you could
You
do
could
that.
do either one.
You could do
Okay.
that.
Can I get a motion?
Well, maybe she has a motion to amend. Because it's already on the agenda.
You're right, as an approval.
Yes.
As approval. Why would I put it on the agenda to not approve?
Right.
Okay, yeah, you're right, no,
So we do have to say, we have to say a motion to approve.
Yep, and then just
And
shoot it
then-
down.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to approve the first discussion action item, approval of trust funds system fund withdrawal for sprinkler system repair?
I move to approve the trust fund system fund withdrawal for sprinkler system repair.
Second.
Thank you, fellas.
One other thing, the other thing we could have done is it could die on the floor if there's no motions, right, Alderman Decker?
Oh,
Like,
true.
you could vote
And now
to.
it's
But
got
now
life.
And now it's out there, I know,
It's out there. Let's move
I'm sorry.
forward.
Okay.
All right, so all those in favor of approving use of the trust funds and system funds, please say aye. Barbara, you following this? Just checking?
Yep, she's there,
Aye.
she's.
No, but
Oh, no.
this is the approval of the funds, so we're all voting no.
I mean, you can do what you
You can
want,
do it,
Barb.
yeah.
You can do what you want, but the conversation has been that we don't have enough information
Right.
to use the funds, and that possibly the better use is to take it all from the Capitol parking lot. So
Even though I disappeared, I heard the full debate.
perfect. Okay.
All right.
So the motion's out there to approve, and you can do what you want, but I think most people are voting no.
Oh, they're voting no?
Yeah.
Again, you
I
can
think
do what
if
you.
she's not here, she doesn't, I don't think she's catching
Yeah.
on to
Yeah.
what we're doing.
So
Okay, I vote no.
All those in favor, vote aye. All those against, nay.
Nay.
Motion
Nay.
does not pass.
All right. Motion fails.
Motion fails.
6 in negatives?
Yeah.
6 in favor of the negative? I'll figure that out later. Okay. Whew. I appreciate you all. I'm sure you did not want to hear the history of the sprinkler system tonight, but I do appreciate.
I wanted to.
All right, second
This is what we're
item.
here for.
What are we doing
Come
next
on,
one?
this is the juicy stuff.
I think motion to approve contractor.
Okay,
Yeah, propose.
second action item. Can I get a motion to approve contractor proposal decision for the sprinkler system repair?
Okay, I'm so sorry. But I do think if we can't, we don't have a proposal decision. Unless you're saying that the proposal decision is to let me make the decision about the proposal.
Yes, that's what we,
That's
what
how we're
That's what
defining
it
this?
is,
yeah.
Okay. If we do the motion, maybe just clarify that.
Okay.
Just say,
So a motion to approve the second action item, discussion action item, contractor proposal decision for sprinkler system repair, letting Brittany make the decision once the 3 proposals come in, 3 or 4 proposals come in, for the lowest reasonable, is that how we said it?
lowest responsible,
Responsible bid proposal.
and I will check in with the executive committee and email the entire,
I don't like that last part. I don't think you need to do that.
to check in with the executive committee.
Right.
It's what you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, all right,
I mean,
so,
see, you've already
Yeah.
like checked in with her to say,
Yeah.
because you felt like, hey, I got to tell somebody else about this, right?
Yep.
It's,
all right, I
no one
will,
really wants to work independently, just making big time, unless you do.
so I appreciate that, Alderman Decker. I will, if I feel funny at all, I will call to not feel funny.
There you go.
So, all right,
So motion to approve.
So motion to approve contract proposal decision for sprinkler system as presented.
As presented.
Yeah.
I second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Tracy.
I will.
Tracy.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, the next
Yay.
item, discussion. Can we defer that? Because we're already 2.5 hours in, and I'm not sure without the quotes and things we
Yeah.
have as much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, all I was going to tell you is just give you an overview of, because you all approved the 2025 budget. I sent it on to the mayor and council. We had to make some cuts to that in order to have it fit into the larger city budget. I was just going to explain the line items where I cut, but that's not time sensitive for tonight, so we can definitely, you can vote to defer that to the next meeting.
I wouldn't mind hearing about it.
Yeah, I'm here. That's fine.
Yeah, it's true.
I can give you a high-level overview, and if anyone
Okay.
has any questions,
That would be great.
I can chat with you later about it. Okay, very quickly, packet
Unless, do
page.
you have to go somewhere?
I'll make it work.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine.
All right.
I didn't know if this was gonna be another long discussion. I'd rather defer it if it's gonna be another half an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Packet page 20. Column with the arrow pointing down is the amount that we have for each category, okay, as was approved by the council, okay? The second big square where it says 2024, that is the budget that we started with last year. So you can take a look and see, like, that was the budget that was given to us in 2024 compared to 2025. So for example, if you wanted to look down at programming at the bottom, very last line of the first big square, 6,900 was the budget that we requested in 2024, not our actuals, but what we asked for. 2025, it's down to 900, okay, because I had to cut in certain sections to make the budget fit, okay? So that's why that Friends of the Library funding is going to be so important to us. All right. Other areas that I had to cut, so just going up, if you put your finger on that 900 and start moving up, I'm going to stop you at the 11,000 for processing supplies. Last year in 2024, we had asked for 15,500, so I cut some money from there. Office supplies was another big one cut. Now, what we did to make these cuts to figure out if we could sustain them is, of course, we looked at actuals over the last 5 years, and, that's how I made these decisions. We have no breathing room in this budget, right? Before, we would spend what we had to spend, and if we had a little bit left over in office supplies, it would mean that we could buy a new Cricut machine, right, to help with, like, cutting out letters for programs and posters. There's no wiggle room in this budget. The 3,500, that is what we need to keep us in pens and tape, right? So it's just going to be a very closely managed budget. Moving up, library equipment. Again, I'm just calling out the ones high level that I had to make cuts on. Was 15,800, dropped that down to 11,120. Remember, library equipment is not just me buying printers and stuff. It is also paying for the copy machines and the paper and the ink and stuff like that. Actually, the paper comes out of office supplies. But that's a big part of the library equipment budget. Scrolling up, other big change, maintenance of buildings and grounds. If you recall, I wanted to bump that up to like 62,000 because I knew we would need to start making some more repairs to the sprinkler system. I did not anticipate this much. You can see that I had to level it back down to what it was last year. So our maintenance budget is the same that it was last year. In previous years, it's worked out okay for us. Obviously last year it didn't, so we're just going to be hopeful, except I've already spent 10,000 of it on emergency repairs. So I'm not feeling hopeful.
Housekeeping services did increase from 2024, though.
Correct, yep. And so as you can see in housekeeping services, yep, I had to increase that because we were getting new proposals for a company. And so we had recommended a 10% increase to prepare for that. Moving up from that 49,000, I dropped the AV materials from 32,500 to 26,000. I'm okay with this cut. It's right sizing our collection needs. Long time ago, we needed that much in collection money because our shelves were emptier and we were building a collection, but now we're sort of stabilizing. Print materials, I dropped that down a little bit, but we still have to, again, be within that minimum to exempt for materials expenditures, so that will get us there. So anyway, those were the areas that I cut. Do I think we can do this budget? Yes. But again, there's no room for error, and it was really unfortunate to come out of the gates with the maintenance costs that we did. If you're curious, I won't go over it, but if you're curious on to where we landed projected for 2024, like what we asked for in 2024, sometimes we're above that if we had to spend more, or less that if we had to save in other areas to try to compensate. That's what this final box is, where it says 2024 projected. So you can look at that on your own time. Definitely feel free to come to me with questions. But I really just wanted to emphasize that in areas like library equipment, office supplies, processing supplies, programming, and in our materials budget, we had to cut. And in maintenance, given the age of our building, I was hoping to up that, and I had to keep it flat to last year. So, but we will make it work, and that's the 2025 budget. Yes, I will be looking for grants.
So on that, on the revenue total line,
Yep.
so we were under revenue last year? I thought we were over with the meeting rooms and the,
Let's see here.
you see down at the bottom revenue, not the bottom, but above net city support, there's that revenue total line.
You're looking at, so we projected to have $216,043 in revenue in 2024. That was the amount that we estimated. We always have to turn in revenue estimates when we're doing our budgeting. But we ended up getting projected in revenue in 2024, $232,807. So that is more than we projected.
Well, the 216 is the actual, right? And 232 was projected, right?
Nope, reverse that. The what we project the revenue to be is the 232,807.
Yeah, that was the projected.
No, yeah. So what we project the actuals to be is 232,807. The box that just says 2024 on it.
That's the actual.
That was what we anticipated at the beginning of the year getting. So like anytime in the previous year, we have to say, this is how much I think we're going to spend. This is how much I think we're going to get in revenue. So that 2024 box, which is right here, this is when we went before council in 2023 in the fall, we said, this is what we think we're going to get for revenue. This is what we budgeted for revenue, the 216,43.
Projected sounds like it's forthcoming, but it's actual.
Because we haven't finished getting all of the invoices for 2024 yet. So 2024 projected is actually actuals, except we still have some bills, and we moved into that column the bills that we know are coming. So it's projected, but the best actuals that we have.
So we ended up with a little bit more revenue than we figured.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yep.
Okay.
I know. It's like 7 o'clock and it's cold, so probably should have labeled the columns differently.
So in a way, we saved some money for the city.
Yeah, I mean, to come in flat at expenses and to have more revenue, I was not trying to be dramatic when I told you all year I was nervous about the 2024 budget. If we cut in areas to save money in the areas that we were cut in, we found grants, we apparently fined people, and
people rented rooms.
And you had missing staff for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because staffing is always your biggest expense.
But
I'm surprised to see that the health insurance didn't go up higher. Because health insurance is just astounding right now.
Yep.
But it only went up by $5,000, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
Keep on going.
I know, every time I hear it, that's the 2025 budget overview. Like I said, contact me. That's all I have on that.
If you have more questions, we have time. I didn't know how long, but and I thought this would be more have the capital stuff in it, and which we couldn't talk about because we don't have those numbers. So I didn't understand.
Yep, no, that's fair. I should have said operating budget overview. I just wanted to, because you guys haven't seen the budget since it went through, so.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Appreciate that. So we're not voting because that was just a discussion, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any communications and miscellaneous business as authorized by law? No. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Third, fourth.
Gonna say Phyllis can have.
All those in
How about
favor
you?
of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, you can stay by yourself. Just kidding. All right, motion passes.
All right.
Meeting is adjourned
All
at 7:34 p.m. on January 21st.
So maybe
Bye,
you'll
Barb.
want me at your meetings because I make